So this third point, it highlights why it can't be used in liquid media, but why it should be used in a solid state fermentation, meaning the substrate which is provided and the bacteria or any other microorganism which will be growing, it will be growing dry on a dry substrate, right? So because the surface area and the enzymatic attack is not possible, so there are very few options which are there which can be utilized in solid substrate fermentation. But this cellulose has been one of the candidates for to be considered in the conversion of ethanol for fuel use, right? So as there is increasing, we have seen in the second lecture as well that we've been discussing about how microorganism can be used to produce biofuels. So cellulose is one of the substrates which can be utilized very effectively to make a fuel like ethanol. Then there are a few other alternatives that we have, such as alkanes and alcohols. All alkanes, they contain a chain length of 10 to 20 carbons, right? So this alkane is obviously a good carbon source as well. Then what happens that their industrial use is dependent upon the prevailing price of petroleum, because most of the alkanes, they come from the oil industry and from the petroleum sources. So whether alkanes is a cheap source or not, it actually depends upon the prevailing price of petroleum. There is, as we've been talking about methanols and alcohols, then methanol is preferred for industrial fermentation, and methanol has a high percent carbon content and is relatively very cheap. So what happens that you can use methanol. There's a drawback which is associated with methanol, and the drawback is that as a carbon source, which is a good carbon, this video chat is disconnecting very often. So I hope you can all hear me now, and I hope the voice is clear. Okay, so methanol can definitely be used as a carbon source, but there's a drawback which is associated with methanol, and that drawback is that we use methanol as a sterilizer. We use methanol to kill most of the microorganisms. So what it means that methanol can be very toxic for it can be very toxic for microorganism, right? So when you use a very higher dose or very high levels or very high concentration of methanol, you in turn happen to kill the microorganism which are there to set up the fermentation on the first place. Then there is ethanol, and ethanol is there as an option, being less toxic, but ethanol is actually too expensive. So there are very specific biotransformation processes in which ethanol can be used. That could be acetic acid, transformation of acetic acid by acetic acid bacteria, right? So that is the only particular kind of utility we know of ethanol. Otherwise, ethanol can be very expensive if used as a medium. Then other than carbon sources, what is very important and essential for bacteria is nitrogen source. आवाज नहीं आ रही Is the voice clear now? Because यहाँ से तो हर चीज clear है from my side. Voice is clear. Is it clear or not? My mic is open and it shows that my voice is being recorded here as well. So from here, the voice, my voice is okay. And yeah.